American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. I'm Perfect Pervis, and this is American Football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Coach Q and Chris Green. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man? Ready to get to it.
Ready to get into another one. The AFF podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast, and you can see us visually here on YouTube. Wherever you listen or watch, be sure to subscribe, follow, and like us. Anyone who listens and watches but doesn't hit that button, we know you're a hater, but that's okay. We're going to get on with the show anyways. No first down. No first down today. We 3 weeks away from the playoffs. We talking playoff picture, baby. We getting into it. We straight back to the action. I want to go over where everybody is seated in the rankings and stuff, and then maybe we talk about like what games are left and what we expecting from some of these teams. So in first place, we have the Helsinki Roosters at 8-1. Second place, Kuopio Steelers 7-3. Third place, Senio Crocodiles 6-3. Fourth place, Porvoo Butchers 6-3. Those are the playoff teams. Now we can talk about fifth, sixth, and seventh. Wassel Royals 3-6. Helsinki Wolverines 2-8. Loyal Crusaders 1-9. But don't nobody care about them. They ain't making the playoffs. Like it's already set. The top four teams is top four teams, and now it's pretty much about where these four teams are going to be. Just open question to you guys. What are your thoughts on where we are after week 11 with it being Roosters, Steelers, Crocs, Butchers? Q, what are your thoughts on that order that we have right now?
I think it's a pretty good order. I'm not sure if the order that is in right now is the actual order that we think the best teams are in. But this is definitely the top four teams. They showed it all throughout the year. Some are getting better. Some are being consistently the same and winning games. And that's just what we got right now. I'm not sure. I like the feeling that I have going into the playoffs right now because I honestly, I don't know. I know one team that I think is going to be there in the end, but I can honestly say I don't know who that other team is going to be. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What do you think about the order right now? We still got 3 weeks, and it's going to change, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's the four that we thought were going to be there anyway. We knew it was going to be these four teams. Preseason, we obviously thought the Butchers were probably going to be number one, but they're currently sitting at number 4.
Still possible, right?
It's still possible. It's still possible. Looking at the Roosters' schedule left, so they've got the Crusaders, so that's a win for them. They've got the Butchers, so who knows? And they've got the Royals, so the Roosters are definitely going to win those two. So I think that makes them top anyway. I think they're the ones.
Roosters like to sit people that last week.
They do, and they're playing
the Royals.
Still gonna win.
You think the Roosters backups could beat the Royals? It's like that?
Like I don't see a Royals team the last game of the year just like I can see them playing hard, but like what does it really matter? Like you're not gonna mess their playoff chances up. So like I think it's just gonna be probably not a super interesting game, but definitely backup heavy game. For the Roosters, but I still think they'll end up winning the game.
Yeah, and like I think the Steelers are probably going to be the 2 seed because they've got the Wolverines and the Crusaders left, so they're going to get home field. I guess that's the benefit of being the 2 rather than 3 because 2 and 3 play each other as we know anyway. It's going to be the Crocs and the Steelers that are going to play each other. Let's be real; it's looking that way.
But who has the tiebreaker out of them two?
So I think the Steelers do because I think they've already beat them.
Yeah, they beat them by more.
Let me just go check.
Because they probably split it, right? But they beat them by more points.
I think so. Yeah, I think their heads better. So they let's have a look. Steelers, Crocodiles. Steelers beat the Crocodiles by 17 points in week 5.
Yeah, so they win the tiebreaker then.
It was close last time, right?
The Steelers Crocodiles game.
They beat them by a touchdown. The Crocs beat them by a touchdown, I think.
Where is it? Steelers Crocodiles. There we go. Yeah, Crocs beat them by 3 points. So Steelers got the head to head.
Yeah. So Steelers
it's looking likely they're the 2 seed, really. I can't see them slipping up against the Crusaders and the Wolverines. It's not going to happen. They're not going to rest them either because they need to get more reps with Treagle at quarterback because at the moment it's not quite clicking. So they need to get more reps with him, more game time with him, get him to get some more chemistry with Austin Brock, get that timing down with him, and look to them push to the playoffs and see what they can do there. But it's a big thing, that home field advantage, definitely. If you get that in the playoffs, or the first round of the playoffs, it is a big thing. So number 2 and number 3, it is beneficial to be that 2 seed.
Yeah, so I mean, just talking about what you just said, like how the Steelers are probably going to be the 2 seed, and the Roosters just have to win 2 out of 3 to lock up. Well, I mean, even if they didn't win, right, they still be the 1 seed. And so, is there a way that the Butchers aren't the 4 seed? Like they got to win out.
So the Butchers will have to be. They got the Royals.
They play the Crocs.
If they beat the Crocs, I think if they beat the Crocs, they got to move up a spot. If they beat the Crocs,
so yeah, I think they might go to 3 if they beat the Crocodiles, and that's the last game in the regular season.
They'd have to beat the Crocs and the Roosters, right? Because they're both 6-3.
They'd have to beat them both. Yeah,
they both have 3 games. Crocs play the Wolverines and the Royals, so they'll have 8 games. They'll have 8 wins by the time they get there.
Yeah,
and the Butchers have Royals and Roosters. They might have 8. I mean, that would be a stretch if they beat the Roosters, but I mean, they could have 8 wins, and then it'd be, whoever wins gets it, obviously.
So you think the 8 wins would depend? It wouldn't matter what the Butchers and the Crocs like they.
No, I think they would both. They would both have to have 8 wins to get there.
Because to have opportunity to play for the 2 seed.
Let's say because if the Crocs play the Wolverines and Royals, they're going to have 8 wins before they play the Butchers. If the Butchers play Royals and Roosters, they might only have 7.
Yeah, and that way they can't then be the 3 seed mathematically.
Then they would have to beat the Crocs.
And,
but they'd have to beat them by a certain point total to get the 3 seed at that point, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. I'm going to quickly go back and check what the Butchers and Crocs score was.
Because that's the only place there can be movement, really. At this point,
I know the Roosters ain't gonna do it, but if the Roosters some kind of way lose to the Butchers, it would hurt the Crocs more than anything. I think. That would kill
Butchers and Crocodiles was 34-16 to the Crocs.
Oh, so they got to beat the crap out of them.
Break out,
then.
18 points. 18.
I mean, so it's crazy. It's week 12. It's set. I'm sorry, but it's set. Like there might be some random moving around for different weeks, but at the end of the season, this was 1 through 4 going to look like. My only thoughts about the playoff system going into it is that I think this has been a really good season in terms of like us not knowing what's going to happen because things kind of went left for the team that was in first or who we thought was going to be first. But also, I think the scheduling had a lot to do with a lot of this year. Like we're seeing teams, I don't know if it's good or bad scheduling. In my opinion, bad scheduling for the play, but for like how everything works together, it's pretty good because you had the Steelers go through a stretch where they lost 3 games, and those were to 3 playoff teams, right? They lost to all the teams they had already beaten. And of course, we can say why they lost those games, because they have injuries. But once they actually figured out, okay, we got a new quarterback, we're going to start something new, they don't have any more playoff contenders to play. So by the time they get in the playoffs, they're going to have played a month with this new roster, with a new running back, a new quarterback, and we're still not really going to know if they should be 1 through 4. We're not going to know where they sit. Like there's no logical way for us to be like, oh, they're better than this team, that team, because we're never going to figure that out the next 2 weeks when they play against the Wolverines and Crusaders, which is just craziness because then we got the Crocs and the Butchers. I think that game at the end of the season is going to be indicative, but it might not be important like what we just said.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not important, how do they play that game out? And then outside of that game, you got the Roosters playing the Butchers in 2 weeks. And that's a game where, again, it might not matter. And if it really just doesn't matter, are we going to get good football? Like, I don't know what we're going to get out of it. But
I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to go into the playoffs. I've never been a fan of taking a loss before you go into the playoffs, unless you feel comfortable with your team, like as a core, like, like, all right, if my main guys are playing, then we probably would have looked a lot better than what we looked in this game. That's the difference. But what you don't want is to say, okay, we're only going to play in the first half. And then the second half, or, we'll see where we at. And then if we don't have to play them, we won't play them. Because you want to keep that same intensity. You want to keep that same momentum going that you had in these last games. So when you get to the end of the season, right before the playoffs, a lot of teams do rest their players, you know what I'm saying? Because they feel like, well, we'd rather have them in the playoffs. Well, sometimes that backfires on you because that guy that didn't get reps in that game, in this last game, comes into the next game maybe healthier, but not so much as on point like he needs to be because he just watched the whole game. So it just depends on how you look at it or whatever. All coaches think different. I think with how things are set up this year, I think if you're in the playoffs, no matter what, unless you're, Sanioki, the long trips, unless you're one of those teams and it don't really matter where you feel like you play at. If I'm the Butchers, I wouldn't really care about playing in Portland. You know what I mean? Like, they're just one of those teams I think can play anywhere if they come with the right game. Now, Roosters, Kuopio, Sanioki, I think it's very important where they play. You know what I mean? Because it gives them an edge. Like the
Crocodiles are about to go with 3 away games. For the end of the season. And then they might have an away game playoff.
You don't want to go to Sanioki the last game of the season, and then you got to go back the first playoff game. Like, that's a lot of traveling. That's a lot. It's just a lot of stuff like that you really don't want to find yourself in. So it just depends, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one, though. That's for sure. Guess we'll get into the show now. All right, let's get our players of the week presented by Ballers International. Are you looking for a community or a brotherhood? Join Ballers Members. Ballers Members is a private group to service athletes. Ballers Members are athletes coming together as men in a brotherhood environment. If brotherhood is something that you're looking for, DM Ballers Internationals at BallersINT on Instagram. So we've announced our players of the week on social media earlier this week, but let's get a little bit into these guys and what they've done. First up, offensive player of the week is going to be none other than William Young, running back, Helsinki Wolverines. And I really think, and I'm wrong with this, I think this is the first Helsinki Wolverine be any type of player of the week in the last 2 years since we've really been doing this.
Hot take.
I just don't know if we I don't know. Well, first of all, let me talk about his stats a little bit. He had 10 rushes for 224 yards, and he averaged 22 yards a carry. That's insane.
That's crazy.
And it wasn't no obviously the defense wasn't great, but he was getting out of there. And honestly, if he was a little bit faster, he'd have 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he got caught from behind.
But he was getting caught on 60 and 70 yarders, where it's come on, there's a difference between a 40-yard dash and a 100-meter.
Yeah.
I also don't like the fact that they subbed him out to put Lagora in to get the touchdown after he had that massive long run. Well, you give the guy his touchdown.
Hey, I don't know the stats, but I promise you, if you look at Helsinki Wolverines like touchdowns, Lagora has almost all of them because when they get in the red zone for some reason, he's the guy they give the ball to, and that's because most likely that's because Will Young and Kevin Adams have done all the work to get them down there, and then they give it to their homegrown guy. You know, a little stat padding. He's a good running back though, but still, it's stat padding. But yeah, Will probably ran all the way down there, and they're like, "You want one more?" He's like, "Nah, I'm good. I did what I had to do." He is not a selfish guy. So, yeah, just hats off to him this weekend. I do like the graphics that we put out for Offensive Player of the Week, and like, I didn't even have the Helsinki Wolverines logo on, like, available. Like, I have like templates of all the teams and stuff, and the Wolverine, I had to make it from scratch, which means we've never had a Wolverine be offense or defensive player of the year since we started the new template. So that's super impressive. I mean, he had a really good game. What were your guys' thoughts on him, Q? What did you think about Will this week?
This is the Will that I expected to see earlier in the season. You know what I mean? Like, this is the Will Young that I'm used to seeing, the big play Will. Of course, his team isn't strong as probably what we've seen him have, but I like to see him get out and do what he's been doing. Because this is the type of player he is. He can hurt you. I like that he's showing people that he still got that and that he still can be effective. So the Wolverines surprised me. I apologize to the Wolverines, man, because both times I thought they were going to lose. I can't even lie, man. And then some kind of way in this game, they just always like play better for some reason. I don't know what it is, but Will had a big part to do with that, and he balled out, man. That's the Will Young we're used to seeing. That's the Will Young I wanted to see all year. And just for him to have 200 yards, man, in a game like that, which really didn't mean anything, but he still was out there playing hard, still trying to do the best he can for his team. So he definitely deserved it.
What about you, Chris? What were your thoughts on Will?
I mean, first thing, I'd like to have seen him in the end zone. I just previously said that already, but hey, 224 yards, and he's coming off the back of another 100-yard week from last week as well. So he's running hard these last 2 weeks. Don't forget as well. Yeah, he was 1 of 1 for 32 yards and a passing touchdown as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the passing touchdown.
Don't forget about
that. I did not. Oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I forgot. That was a really good play right before the half. He was like, he threw that thing because he was running to his left.
And running to his left, and he had two guys in his face.
Yeah, he stood his foot in the ground and put that thing out there.
Yeah, Kevin's down there somewhere.
And threw that thing. Dang. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't say nothing about him. Oh man, just great game. Yeah.
I mean, he just had a great game. He was just showing good speed, good break, and it was almost like a one-cut thing. I think on his longest run, that like 75-yard run he made one guy miss in the backfield, like with just a little cut. He just went bang and then gone, which was great. Yeah. Disappointing to see him get caught, but I mean, averaging 22 yards a carry, you definitely win an Offensive Player of the Week. I mean, just ridiculous stats. So yeah,
craziness.
Great game, Will.
Yeah, damn good job, Will. So let's go to the defensive side. And before we talk about Defensive Player of the Week, I just want to say, I think there was a lot of good defense this week. It was hard for us to choose one person because there was a lot of like solid defense by most of the teams. So
only the front seven. Only the front sevens, not the corners.
Only the front sevens.
Hold up.
I tried to slide that in there.
I tried to slide that in. Get him right, because
but I did tell you, I did see one good corner performance as well. But again, let's stick to who we gave it to. We gave it to Taj Alston, defensive lineman from the Crocodiles. He totaled 5 tackles, had 1 sack. Again, this is another guy that if we could do pressures and QB hits, that type of stuff, his numbers would be crazy because he was everywhere and he forced a lot of stuff. Him and Akano worked really well together, but he did a really good job of just kind of being in the face of the offense in this game. That's what I really liked about it. What about you, Q?
Same. He was very active. And another thing that they don't see on stats is just presence. You know what I'm saying? Defensive presence. He crashed down on a lot of plays. I don't even know if those stats are actually accurate because I feel like he should have more than that. But he was everywhere in this game. He made this game real interesting in a lot of times. like he was just a consistent player that came in and made plays every time. Him and Charles, that presence and that pressure is what you need. That's what you want right there. Aggressive DNs who not only can help you in the pass but can help you in the run. And that's what he did this game. He helped them a lot on the run. And they lost obviously, but their defense, that front was crazy, and a lot of it was because of his energy.
What about you, Chris?
I mean, Alston and Akano have been a great double act all year, and they've proven time and time again that they're top level caliber athletes. And this week, Alston, he wins it because he was just a force right in there in that defensive line. He also forced a fumble as well, which was on his stat line as well. But I mean, he needs to be double teamed. But the problem is when you've got Akano and you've got Alston, you can't double team them both because someone's coming unblocked. So
basically, they try to have what is it? They have the running back help with one of them every time. Like it's either him or it's Akano. You have to pick your poison, so it's crazy.
You have to have two offensive linemen on one of them, and like you say, the running back coming to help out, whether it's just chipping them in the pass game or coming up and staying in the 6-man protection to be able to pick him up. Because these two guys, they're going to beat most people one-on-one, and they've been doing it time and time again all season. And Alston definitely deserving a defensive player of the week this week.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's do helmet stickers. I'll leave it to you first, Chris. Do you have anybody that kind of stood out to you this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a receiver for the Crocodiles, Verneri Rhino. And I think if Will Young wouldn't have gone off, he probably would have won Offensive Player of the Week this week, as we said in our chat. He had 12 receptions, 140 yards, a touchdown. I think he head-topped someone as well. And he made a great, ridiculous catch and got into the end zone well when he overstretched over the pylon. So, yeah, he did a great job all day. And, yeah, he helped that offense because – and we've seen it time and time again, the Sarkilers and him. And I think sometimes he gets a bit overlooked, but we have talked about him quite a lot. And he's definitely coming of – they've almost got a couple of number one receivers there in Joel Sarkila and Yanni Sarkila and Rhino. But then
I got to jump in there. Is this not what I was saying earlier in the season when somebody was out there hating on the receiving core of the Senio Crocodiles? I was telling you, Yanni Sarkila up there head topping. I said he gonna head top. What he gonna do? He go head top. And then I said Verneri Rhino was out there. He's out there doing things. And then Yoel Sarkila, then Jacoby Reddick. That's 4 really good receivers.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
No, you're right. You're right. They are really good third-place receivers. They're great third-place receivers. I always want first. So I guess they good. I guess they decent if you're trying to be third place. Yeah.
But I do want to say, though, it's very difficult to have, standout receivers when if you look at the Crocodiles, and historically in the last couple of years, this is how they built their receiving core. They have the type of receiver you want at every spot. They have their number one receiver on the outside is a big, tall number one receiver who can go get it when you need him to, which no one else in the league really ever has that. The closest we've ever got is Santu Vekamaki with the Roosters, and he's not that. He's just not. He's never been played as that. And then you look at, they need an inside receiver. They go get Jacoby Reddick. He's everything you want from that spot, right? And then you need that third guy who's going to be able to do both your deep routes, your short routes, your mid routes, catch the tough balls. That's Verneri Rhino. And he's the guy that you don't talk about because he's doing more of the grunt work. And then you have another explosive guy out of Yoel Sarkila, but I'll be honest, he's been a little droppish this year, so I haven't talked about him as much. But honestly, that's a really good receiving core that's hard to match up against. That's what they did in this game. Legitimately, Verneri Rhino, he can get his whole game number 28 from the Roosters. every time they was guarding him, he was like, I'm gonna throw number 11 the ball and he's gonna win this 1-on-1. And he did every time. And that's the Crocodiles' number 3 receiver beating the number 2 corner of the other team. So that's just how that went. I won't gush too much on him. Q, did you have anybody that you wanted to give any stickers to?
Yeah, I'm going with Mr. Nunley, man, for the Roosters. Of course, I'm
for the Roosters.
He's not the only one. You know what? I got 2 players, but I'm gonna say this one first.
First place receiver. I understand.
Mr. Nunley plays for the first place team right now, currently. A lot of it, any game where he gets the ball, he's productive. Next to Brock, I think he's the second best receiver in the league. I mean,
whoa.
I think this was my take. Okay. When you go on your take, you can say whatever you want to say. This is mine. Let me have my take. So, like I said, I think Nunley is the second best receiver next to Brock, and that's just how I feel for my reasons. But Nunley is a guy that you want to have on your. And I'll say this: he's healthy, he's durable, he's available, and he's consistent. As long as Ambrose can get him the ball, he's going to make plays. He's a difference maker on that offense. He's the best, to me, the best player on that offense. So 3 helmet stickers to him. I get that out of the way. Now, my second player, I know Chris probably was going to say it, but I'm going to say Kevin Adams again. Like,
the best receiver in the league. The best receiver.
I feel like at this point right now, it should be teams in the Maple League talking to him right now. Like, hey, we need you to come be. If they don't want him as a number 1 receiver, he needs to at least be the number 2 because he's shown that he's also healthy. He's also consistent. He's also durable. And that's the type of receiver you need on your team. You want guys that are there. You want guys that are playing. You can change your offense outlook you can change your outlook on your offense in a season depending on how healthy running backs or our receivers are. The Roosters are never out of games simply because you got guys like him who's available all the time. He's not hurt like that. So Kevin Adams is just on the wrong team. I'm going to just be straight up. He's on the wrong team because if you put him on Kuopio, you put him on one of these other teams where they got a quarterback who's able to get him the ball, this dude is a superstar in his league. So I'm giving Kevin Adams 3 helmet stickers because he earned it too. It was a lot of great performances. Alpha had a great performance too. We can name a lot of guys this week that probably could have got up there to the offensive player, but those 2 stood out the most to me.
Okay. All right. Oh, man. We got to touch on that after we name some more people. The whole receiver thing, because y'all got me thinking, because Chris, who you got? Who else you want to give some flowers to?
I am going to give some flowers to. Let me just look at my list. I'm going to give it to Francois Pion, running back of the Kuopio Steelers. He had 24 attempts, 166 yards rushing, and a touchdown. This guy has been explosive. It's the missing factor that the Steelers have been missing all season, an explosive running back that's going to give you tough yards, but is also quick and nimble and can get at tackles. And this is the man for them. He's a great fit for this team with the offense that they have this year. You know, in past, we talked about the Steelers' offense, how they've been run game heavy, but different kind of run style now, which complements this offense much better. And I feel like he's really coming to his own, and it's definitely money well spent by the Steelers because he's helping them get victories when they've got a new quarterback who's just finding his feet in this team right now. So they need a good, strong run game to assist the quarterback getting his feet wet and getting into this offense. So, yeah, great game.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go through mine quickly. I got 2 guys on the thread here. First guy, another receiver, Alpha Jallo, for his performance. After having, I think, 3 touchdowns last week, he ups it again with 3 touchdowns this week. Receiving-wise, he wasn't a huge factor, like in the grand scheme of things, with only 3 receptions, but 2 of them were touchdowns. So, you know, they were important catches, so efficient. And we've seen that from Alpha. He's very efficient. But he played both ways. And what I really liked was him defensively being active. He had 4.5 tackles, 1 PBU, the pick 6, which was awesome. That kind of helped them have some semblance that they might win this game. And I never really trusted that. But Alpha is playing on a different level than almost everybody in the league at this point. Like you can't deny that no matter what happens, he's gonna do whatever is necessary for him to put his team in the position to win a game. And that's what he did this week. And again, he didn't do it that much on the offensive side. They didn't have the opportunity to get him the ball as much as they would have liked, obviously, which is, in my opinion, very dumb. He had 3 carries. They had him actually playing running back in the game, and that didn't really work out. But I still didn't understand why they didn't throw more like quick screens to him. Just give him the ball and let him run and see how that would work. But they didn't do it enough. They went with the running back thing. But when they did pass the ball to him, he caught the passes, and those are touchdowns. But defensively, he kind of – I don't like when he plays offensive defense. I don't like it. I feel like you don't get the best alpha when he does that. But he was very good for them defensively because they had too many DBs on the field, and he's a more physical type. So he was able to get in there, help stop a couple of plays before they got out of hand. And then again with the pick 6 and then the PBU, he was active in the pass coverage. So he looked really good. I'm giving him three stickers, obviously, because, you know, he had a hell of a game. If we had, like, overall player of the week, I think he would have won it from being able to play both sides of the ball. Another guy that I want to talk about, and this is a newcomer to the show, DB for the Roosters Royals, number 47, Sebastian Johansson. He had 4 tackles and 3 pass breakups. This is the Swede that they brought over. Now, he was guarding Austin Brock the entire game pretty much. When he had his pass breakups in this game, what looked different than what I've seen before when people have pass breakups where they're just batting the ball down because they can't catch is he was taking the ball out of the receiver's hands after the receiver had it. Like they were true pass breakups. He was breaking up a pass that would have been caught. And that's something that we haven't seen, and we said it earlier in the show. The cornerbacks in the league are not playing very well. Sebastian comes over from Sweden, and immediately he's a presence. He did things. He slowed Austin Brock down enough that they really weren't able to utilize him the way you wanted to in this game. And that's something that you can bank on from him at that position, which is really good for the Royals. Unfortunately, that's not really why they lost. The guy, what Chris said earlier, Peon is really the reason they lost. They couldn't stop the run. But at least they had some semblance of an actual corner playing out there. And Sebastian Johansson, he's one of the best, and he did a really great job. So he gets 3 stars from me for doing something that most cornerbacks just can't do, is separate the receiver and the ball. Those pass breakups, they weren't like, oh, he's just hitting the ball down. He was taking it from the receiver and making incomplete passes. So those are 2 more guys for me. Chris, you got any more names?
There's one guy who has not been on the Steelers all season, I don't think. Lars Stefan.
He has been on the Steelers all season.
All season. Okay, well, I actually noticed him this week. He had 6 solos, 1 assist, and he had 1 tackle for loss as well. I feel like he had a solid game. So two stickers for me for him today. I feel like he's been gone under the radar a little bit because I expected more from him this year, if I'm honest. And the fact that I didn't really know if he was on the team all year. He's wearing number 0, right? Or number 6?
No. Lars Stefan is number 27.
27.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If I could jump in there and defend him, because he's one of my highly touted players, is they've had him kind of moving around playing outside linebacker nickel and sometimes like actual linebacker. So he's been playing in a position of like hiding. And he's making tackles every game, but that's not his natural position. He's a safety. But they've kind of been playing him they've been playing him at that rover position so they can get those other guys in there. And if you watch the film, he can actually tackle. I'm not going to say that about those other safeties that they actually have playing safety, because we've seen how that went when they played against the Roosters a couple weeks ago. All those missed tackles, he wasn't the guy missing those tackles. He was getting blocked by linemen because he's up in the box now. So just want to put that out there. Lars Stefan, I've been watching you all year, and I've noticed that you're playing linebacker now instead of safety. So it's a little bit harder to get, some pub out there.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's probably why he's going to notice that. And the fact that he's going to notice tells me that he's doing his job. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Without going above and beyond and making like ridiculous plays. Like he must be doing his job if he's doing the right, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I thought I'd give him some flowers this week. I felt like he had a good game.
Definitely. He definitely had a good game. Should I give some? Oh, there's one more person I have to give flowers to. I'm trying not to give too many, but I'm giving 2 stars to Ethan Greenfield, running back from the Roosters. He had 14 rushes, 101 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm mostly just giving the man flowers because he just keep doing what he got to do. Yeah. Man, just keep doing what he got to do. He scores touchdowns. He gets points. He's not tackleable. I don't know what his yak is this season, but I think it's a lot. Pretty high. Yeah, it's got to be pretty high.
Most valuable running back. Most valuable running back. That's it. Ain't nothing major. Just a most.
Ooh, look at me! I'm a big Roosters fan. Ooh,
we're gonna have to talk about these positions, man.
Even if I wasn't a Roosters fan, bro, I gotta tell you this. Even if I wasn't a Roosters fan, if you look at the season, let's just look at the season, bro. What other running back besides him, who plays good against everybody? Everybody, not just the bad teams. He's like one of the only ones. Like, doesn't matter who they play, he got some type of effect on these games. That's why I'm giving him props.
I got one for you, Theo Landers.
Hey, that's a hell of a running back. You're not lying.
He don't play good against everybody though.
He gets some yards either way.
His stats tells otherwise. His stats
he's getting them rushing yards.
If you touch the ball 50 times a game, yeah, you're gonna have some rushing yards. You touch the ball every play.
Yeah, but he's only got. I'm looking at his stats now. He's only got 97 attempts, whereas Greenfield's got 120, and he's outrushed him. He's got 783 yards. He's a leading rusher in the league.
Yeah, by default.
Let's be honest though. Like scrambling when everybody's in pass defense.
98 of their plays, 98 of the 101 plays are scrambles.
Yeah, a lot of scrambles.
He's biting.
Look. At the end of this regular season, we're gonna talk about these positions. We're gonna talk about who's the best because we got some different opinions this year for sure, especially. But let's get into it, man. Okay, so we know who actually won and lost the games, but let's explain who won or lost their game this week. First up, pretty good game. Warrior Crusaders versus Helsinki Wolverines. Hugh, let you lead it off. Who won or who lost the game?
I'm not even going to waste no time. Wolverines won this game, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverines won this game. The 2 times they played, I thought the Crusaders were a better team. And both times the Wolverines told me otherwise. The first game, I said, you know what? Maybe it was just momentum. Maybe they just, had their number. But then this game right here showed me that the Wolverines are just a better team. They're just a better team. And that says a lot because I don't think the Wolverines are that great of a team. So I'm just not sure what UNC did against them defensively or offensively that the Wolverines just came out and just looked like a whole nother team. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they looked like all-stars and all of that, but Will Young, I mean, averaging, like you say, he averaged over 40 yards a carry. Like what's going on out here? But, hey, Wolverines pulled it out, man. I'm saying they won it. They won the game fair and square. Like, beatdown's beatdown, man. It is what it is.
Chris, what about you? Who won or lost this one?
I'm in agreement. Wolverines won the game. They were much better on the day. Will Young, Kevin Adams doing their thing as usual, carrying the Wolverines team on their back as they've been doing all year. The only 2 players that are actually doing anything on offense, that's for sure. So the Crusaders, I'm going to talk a little bit about them. I'm a little bit happy that they went to some of the read option stuff, which I've been crying out for them to do all year. Finally, they did a bit. Were they successful at doing it? Yes. Bryce Messina had over 100 yards rushing. Why have they not been doing that all year? Okay, yeah, they lost, but they've got a formula that works there. And I know they lost their best receiver in the second half as well. So he wasn't playing, which was a factor for them because they didn't really have anyone else to go to. But they've got not really any receivers. I think one other guy made a catch late in the game. It was a deep ball. It was a little bit underthrown. He come back and made a good catch. But other than that, they didn't really have a lot else, if I'm honest. And the Wolverines were just better. I mean, the defense wasn't great of Crusaders. We've seen this all year. They've not been great. But the guys are still going to go and put the points up. And they did that. William and Kevin Adams did what they needed to do.
Let me throw in this random stat that I saw this week. The Crusaders have played 10 games. They have given up 505 points in 10 games. So quick math.
50 burger a game.
Per game. That's the average. That's the average.
Ooh.
Per game. 50. Gosh. Oh, so I guess for me, obviously I agree the Wolverines won this game. And I need to send out my apologies to the Wolverines for doubting y'all, I guess. I mean, I was wrong.
I nearly picked them this week. I was so close to picking them this week.
How many points did they give up in the year? Make sure you throw that one out there too, so we know how.
I want to say it's 400 something, so it's close.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
So it's pretty close.
So
it's
I don't know which team's supposed to feel the worst about this.
It was just I saw 500 and I saw 10 games. I was like, oh wow, like 50. Quick math. Like this just makes it tough. Right there.
Wolverines have given up 4,242 yards. So
that's yards.
That's points, right?
That's
yards.
Oh, I was going points per game.
Oh, points. Sorry. Hang on.
Because if they gave it up 420 points, that's still
35 times.
Yeah, 35 times 10.
You can just guess a number that they gave up. 35.
They easily gave up over 350 points this year.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
26 touchdowns. 26 touchdowns.
It's 436. 436 for the Wolverines. So that's 43.6.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah. Because once you get out of the Wolverines, the Royals have given up 287, the Crocs have given up 217, and Roosters, Steelers, and Butchers are all giving up under 200 points.
That's good.
Yeah, the Butchers have only given up 113. And not that we're talking about them right now. Again, I'm jump back into this game a little bit. I actually did watch the whole game. Congratulations, Wolverines, man. Y'all played better. But I'm just gonna say it. The Crusaders defense is just horrible. I mean, we just talked about the 50 burger per game, but that's just horrible. This is bad. But again, I do think that one thing that we've said all year is that the Wolverines defense isn't horrible. And I think that's what really set them apart in this game is that their defense is It's like they don't have like any besides Alvin Reels, I think he's probably like only like superstar, I would say, on their defense. Wolverines defense is good. And even in this game, Bryce Messina was able to get a lot of yards. They gave up a decent amount of yards, but they've always been decent this year. But their offenses usually suck so bad that it doesn't matter. Eventually, they end up giving up a lot of points. And in this game, offense didn't suck. Matter of fact, Will Young threw a pass to make sure the offense didn't suck. They still threw an interception. I think they throw every game. But again, as long as you got Kevin Adams and Will Young, you got a chance. They've learned to focus on those two and get them the ball by any means necessary. And this game was kind of evidence of it. I didn't like watching the game, though, because there was a ton of penalties. I don't know what the actual stat was, but it was just a lot of penalties, a lot of stoppage in the game. A lot of the game just didn't have a good flow. And that's usually what happens when bad teams play. And no matter what happened, Wolverines won. Congratulations. You got 2 wins this year over the same team. These are still 2 very bad teams. Very bad teams. Not good, but very bad teams. And they both need to get something done. This week coming up, East City Giants versus Tampa the Saints, Division I. I think all 4 of those teams should play each other to decide who gets into the league. And they should use D1 rules. That's what I think. Use the players you actually have from Finland. That would be very bad for the Wolverines, right? If they can only have one American on the field at a time. I don't think Will can throw it to himself, and neither can Kevin. So that'd be tough. No, Will doesn't count as an American, though, right?
No, okay, Will counts as American.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, Wolverines could say that. Yeah, I'll take it back. I take it all back. They've learned how to be really good with those two imports. But I guess we'll move on from this game. I feel like I wanted to talk about it more, but it really just, it was a very simple game. Next game. This game was close too, right? We had a lot of close games this weekend. Roosters Royals versus Kuopio Steelers. Yeah, I think this one was close as well. Chris, I'll let you get this one off. Who won or lost this one?
6-point game. This is tough. This is tough because I felt like the Royals were in control of this game for most of it. But I'm still going to say the Steelers won. And the reason why I'm going to say the Steelers won is that I thought they were more consistent and their longevity over the game was better. Their run game was very good, and it's what they needed in this game. They needed a run game because, as I said earlier, Tree was still trying to find his feet. So the fact that they've got Pion and he's doing what he needs to do in the run game, he touched the ball 24 times in the run game, and he also had 2 catches. So he's touching the ball 26 times more. The only person more than that's touching it is the quarterback, because obviously he touches it every play. But offensively, he's touching the ball the most, which is what they needed. Noah Choate had a solid game as well. 75 yards, 1 touchdown. Austin Brock, solid game. 7 catches for 75. I mean, there was one bad throw which came off of Austin Brock's hands, that the one that Alpha picked and ran it back for a touchdown. I felt like the Royals could have won this game. They were there within a shot. I mean, it was only 1 score at the end, but I just felt like the Steelers, even though they were down, I didn't feel like they were going to lose, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were going to win, and I think that just is because their defense is a lot better than the Royals' offense. And the Royals' offense, let's be fair, they had a consolation score at the end. So really it's a 2-score game because they threw one up to Alpha just at the end and he head topped the guy in the end zone. So that's a bit of a consolation score. So I don't really think it was a 1-score game. It was a 2-score game. But the Royals had their chance, but I feel like the Steelers were just a little bit better than them on this day. And I think when Treagle finds his feet, I think he's going to be good for them. When they use him in the run game a bit more as well, I think he's going to be good for them. So, yeah, Steelers won it for me.
What about you, Q? Who won or lost this one for you?
No, it's the same. I think the Steelers won it. Like Chris said, I didn't have a feeling that the Royals were going to pull it off. I actually had the opposite feeling. I was like, they're going to find a way to let the Steelers take it over.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And that sucks though. But Alpha was doing literally everything he could to help. But like you said, anytime that he's playing both, it's going to hurt you because I think 1 or 2 of the touchdowns that happened, Alpha was in the vicinity and probably just didn't have enough juice to make the tackle because he was been playing on offense. So, I mean, when you play both ways, the receiver can literally be 2 steps away from you. But when you're gassed or you don't get them in your first initial steps downfield, it seems like they're 5 feet away because you just don't have the energy to make it happen. And I think that happened to Alpha a few times from what I've seen. And it's just like, man, if he wasn't just exerting so much energy on offense, then defense, he could probably help. But like, you're gonna hurt on one of them. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how they ended up losing the game. Not saying it because of Alpha, but just because they had to do things like that. At the beginning of the season, they had a great roster of defensive players that I thought were going to play good together. But just hasn't been ever put together. I mean, DeMarco was gone early in the season. So that hurt a lot with what we expected from that defense.
All their linebackers are gone.
All the linebackers gone. Yeah. So
all their linebackers are gone.
It's just a depleted team that can have success offensively because of the guys they got over there, but it's just defensively that they're losing games because they can't stop anybody when they need to. And I think that's what happened in this game. They just couldn't stop Kuopio when they needed to.
I agree with you guys. I think Kuopio won the game, but it was a game where Kuopio and the Royals looked very close. Now, I agree with you, Chris. It was a 2-score game. With 1 minute left, what was the score? Let me check this. I wrote this down. With 1 minute left, it was 33-21. Steelers were up. That's the final score. That's really what it should have been. Then they kicked the onside kick. And at first, I was like, why would you do that? But I know why they did that. Because they didn't want to kick it to Alpha with a minute left in the game. So they kicked the onside kick. Like, that's how much impact he – yes. I'm like, oh, smart. He still ends up getting a touchdown. But again, at least he didn't get a quick kickoff, and then they get a chance to do an onside against you and then have the offense. So I understand why you do that. I would have did a more of a true squib, but that worked for him either. So, again, I'm not too upset. But by them doing that, they gave him a short field with 1 minute, and then they ended up scoring. So the score looks closer than it was. But it was
the very last play of the game. There was like 1 second left.
But you know how it is. 3 weeks from now, everybody's going to look at the box score and say, oh, they only lost by 6. Everybody's not going to remember what we remember about what actually happened. Shoot, in 2 weeks, I might not remember. So that's why we got to say this on the podcast. It was a 2-score game. It just they made a smart decision not to let Alpha have 2 chances to score. And that's what they wanted to do with that kick. But in my opinion, I did not see a Kuopio Steelers team that I'm confident in the playoffs against a playoff team. I saw a team that could beat the Royals, but that's not saying much. The Royals can't beat anybody either. And one thing that really stood out in this game was the Steelers having Austin Brock play cornerback. Did you guys notice that?
I didn't know.
He was playing cornerback opposite of Mukala or Makala. He was playing cornerback opposite of Makala pretty much the whole game. And, I mean, he still had a decent receiving game, but to me that reeks desperation.
Yeah.
Because they have DBs. Like, and no offense, but the guy that he was replacing, Kosti Hody, is not a great cornerback. So you've been playing with this dude all year. Maybe he wasn't available, but how bad is the backup to be? Like, all you're going to do is get beat like the other one. The starting cornerback isn't great against these receivers this year. So I don't understand why you put your best offensive weapon out there where he can have what we've talked about with Alpha is fatigue offensively. And like I think we said it earlier when Alpha got the interception, Austin Brock got his hands on the ball. It was behind him. It was a bad throw. But that's one of those situations where you could say if he isn't playing both ways, he has a little bit more energy, he brings that in, right? Like that's something that could happen. You never really know. So with that, I felt like the Steelers were really just being desperate and putting him on defense. And one other main thing that really stood out in this game is where are the linebackers? Both teams. First, let's start with the Royals. The Royals at one point and at various points in this game had 7 defensive backs on the field. 7. They were running a 5-6 defense. They had 5 D linemen all down on the line, and they had 6 DBs just playing together. And then sometimes they had 4 D linemen, so they had 7 DBs. And you call them linebackers all you want to, but Peter Lundstrom, Rory Kelly, those are not linebackers. Those are DB. Those are safeties. And Rory Kelly was playing middle linebacker. Like they had both of them playing inside linebacker in this defense. And when you watch the game, what did the Steelers do? They ran it down there.
On the ball well.
All you have to do was get past the first line, and nobody could tackle you because it was 85 DBs. Alpha is as strong and fast as Alpha is. He could be the only one. And here's another thing, Alpha included. These DBs weren't even trying to tackle. Watch all the times that Peon gets extra yards. They're all trying to rip the ball out of his hands. Here's one thing you need to know as a DB. If you're not strong enough to tackle him, you're not strong enough to take the ball out of his hands. What do you think this is? Like, just think about it. You can't take him down. So you're just going to take this ball out of his hands because you're stronger with your arms than you are hitting him in his. Don't make no sense. And I'm watching the whole game. I'm just like, all they gotta do is run the ball. All they gotta do is run the ball, and that's what they did. They just ran the ball to get it down. And again, it's a good matchup for them. I think the Steelers are the better team, and they proved it. They were convincingly the better team, but the Royals have no linebacker play. And then on the other side, the Steelers slightly better linebacker play because they had players who actually were linebackers playing there, which meant they were a little bit slower, but at least they knew where to fit. So they actually did slow Swarovski down a little bit, just enough that the Royals weren't able to move the ball efficiently on offense, enough to be in the game like the Steelers were. So what really stood out to me is that bad linebacker play, no linebackers really playing because even for the Steelers, they didn't have their starter, their key linebacker, Carlton Marshall. He was injured. That's fine. They had the other starter, number 60, in there. And I think number 11 was, subbing. They did a decent job. I'm not mad at them. At least they play linebacker. But then on the other side, the Royals just put DBs out there and say, "Good luck." And you see how that happened. They were just rotating DBs out there. That's crazy that they thought that would work. It's even crazier that all their linebackers are like hurt or gone. Like they have. We said before the season, how are they going to play with all these linebackers? Now they don't have any. But both teams really just did not have great linebacker play. That's all I got on this game. I felt like it was okay, but not good teams.
Yeah,
not good in this game. All right, last game of the weekend, the real game. Crocodiles. Q, who won or lost this one?
Who won and lost this game? I'm going to go with the Roosters won, baby. Just like I said, they would. This was a very, very interesting game. Very, very good game because when you look at the stats, there aren't any stats that just statistically show you that this team should have won or this is why this team lost. Like they were pretty much evenly matched. A few numbers off here and there, but as a whole, this is the type of game you wanted. It wasn't a lot of turnovers. Some good defense on both sides. I think at the end of the day, the Crocs just dropped the ball in the secondary, literally dropped the ball in the secondary in the second half. The Roosters, I think, made adjustments coming into the second half, and the Crocs didn't. I think the Crocs made a decision to, and rightfully they can. They have Christian Powell. I just think he still isn't getting featured the way he should be getting featured in these games. I just don't think. I think they're still putting the quarterback in Christian Araby's hand too much. I just think they're relying on this pass game too much right now.
Tell us about the stats, man.
What
was the stats? What was the stats about?
Go ahead, Chris. Yeah, you can
Christian Powell did have quite a few touches. He had 19 carries.
Okay.
55 yards and one touchdown.
Okay.
So he's averaging 2.9 yards carry. He also had 3 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown.
Okay. How many passes attempts did Christian Araby have?
39.
Yeah, that's too many. Too many. It's too many. Like now, and I'm saying it's too many because I'm not saying it's too many for a team to throw the ball. I think it's too many for him. That's what I'm saying. I think it's too many for him. I think you still want that. I still think you have to keep him in that 25 to 30 mark for throwing the ball and let Christian Powell get that other, those other plays. I know what happened though.
Let me ask you this. Do you think so Christian Powell had 19 carries, right? Is that what you said? 19.
Yeah. So I tell you how many plays they had on offense as well.
How many?
Total. They had 70 offensive plays.
So my question would be, do you really think that Christian Powell, the difference of him having 19 or him having 25 carries would have been better? You think it would make a huge difference?
I think it is in the first half, yes, because the score isn't outrageously to the point where you have to throw the ball that much.
Mm-hmm.
You got a close game, the whole game pretty much. The Roosters broke away in the fourth quarter. You know what I'm saying? True. So, you have to make a decision and say, hey, see what you're doing is when you throw the ball that much, you're giving the Roosters and other teams opportunities to have the ball when you throw the ball that much. If you make it a Christian Powell heavy game, this is saying that we don't care that we get in the third and long. If we don't get it, we don't get it. But what we're trying to do is get him going, and maybe he'll pop something big or he'll keep gashing or whatever. Because what you don't want is you to be throwing the ball 40 times and then you go and look at the quarters and they're not equal in points. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they both Roosters averaged like 7 points a quarter all the way into the fourth quarter. The Crocs was up and down, might be 17, 3 in the third, I think. Then they scored 15 in the fourth.
Yeah, I got like some field goals. I had 2 field goals.
And like some so it was just one of those games. I just think in order for the Crocs to get over that hump, in order for them to do that, it has to be Christian Powell. And I'm not saying just hand him the ball every time, but you have to figure out a way to where you can get him going without him fighting for 2 or 3 yards every time he touched the ball. Like, you just can't do that. But it's easy to do when you have a mobile quarterback and you feel like he will give you better chances at getting the play. And he does. There's times where he threw for 350-something yards. Like, that's not a bad game for a quarterback. It's not. But in a time in which you need him,
350 yards.
But
it makes you bad game. It's not a bad game.
It makes you wonder, what did the other offense do, though? Because whenever like, a quarterback throws for that and they lose, that means the other team had just as good numbers.
Exactly. And
you're trying to throw your way out of the loss.
It's okay when you're throwing, you look at the stats, say 350, he threw, 3 touchdowns or whatever, 4 touchdowns. I think it was 3 touchdowns. If you look at the stats and say, okay, the Roosters quarterback didn't have to win the game for them. You see what I'm saying? Because of the way that team is set up. They have a running back who I don't think he's better than Christian Powell, but he's better than Christian Powell's in his offense. You know what I'm saying? In his offense, he's being they're showing you Greenfield is the guy that we're riding on, even though we can throw the ball to Nunley, even though we can throw the ball to him. Greenfield is the backbone of that Roosters offense. So the Crocs, the backbone of your offense for the last few years have been Christian Powell. Now, all of a sudden, this season, you're trying to make it about throwing the ball now. Now you're trying to make it about, and I know it sounds like I'm saying like, oh, they're picking and choosing, but I really feel like they're picking to throw the ball more than they're running the ball. And it's because Christian Powell gets 2 or 3 yards and you think, oh, it's not working. No, it doesn't work like that. Like, you have to keep driving. And if the game isn't out of reach, keep running the ball then. Keep it in your hands. Keep the ball on your offense, because now when you go to the other side and you know your secondary isn't that good, now you get Nunley running free. They call 1 touchdown back. So he really should have probably had another one. You know what I'm saying?
He still ended up getting it, yeah.
That's what you get. Your defense gets exposed as much as your offense doesn't expose people. So if your offense isn't exposing something with all the passing, then your defense is going to get exposed because they're on the field too much. And then by the time of the game is ending, fourth quarter, now you got to scramble to try to see if you can win the game. Now you lose the game because why? You have no choice but to throw the ball now. Now the Roosters know you have to throw the ball. So what do? They blitz a nickelback or a quarterback.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Which I don't think they called the whole game. They didn't play the whole game until then, I think. So you look at it as like, all right, you guys were in the game almost pretty much up until Nunley scored the touchdown before, and then they come back or whatever, and now it's a game. But it's like, I just Christian Powell get 25, 30 carries. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I just think he has a better rate of like making plays happen when that's the case. I don't know. I mean, just my opinion, but I just think they threw the ball way too much. And anytime your quarterback is out here just running around like that, like it isn't a good feeling. Yes, they have the big receivers, so he can do that. You know what I'm saying? But you came out of this game with an L again. You know what I mean? So motivation-wise, you're probably saying, okay, we want to play him again. But here I am as a fan saying, why?
Yeah,
why? We already seen 2 times what you're going to do every time. You do it every time. I was
going to ask you, would this be a good Maple Bowl game? Because I feel like this is the closest we're going to get to 2 teams that can play to each other. But you're kind of saying it for me is that I don't really want to see it if this is how they're going to play it.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get a different outcome if they play again. That's what I'm saying. I don't think we'll get a different outcome. Yes, different people might show up, but we've seen like their offense was working. You know what I'm saying? The Crocs offense was working. It just overall as a team.
The Crocs have more offensive yards and more first downs than the Roosters.
That's why I said it's their offense is working. But you're still missing something. You're still missing something from beating these guys. And it ain't just this year. It's like I told y'all last time. This been going on. This has been going on. It's almost like it don't matter how much I work out. It don't matter how much I bench press. When I get into the ring with one boxer, I just can't do nothing with it. I can't do nothing with it. It don't matter if I gain 20 pounds in the off season or we sign him or we sign him. It's something about this rivalry. I'm gonna call this one a rivalry. It's something about this rivalry that makes it like the Crocs find a way to like give it up. They find a way, and I don't know what it is. I do want to see them overcome something at some point. Because right now, I'm like the Crocs played like they played the best they could possibly play. I think like when it comes down to mechanics and X and O's, but it's like you have to finish drives all the time against the Roosters. All the time. You can't just go out there and
field goals
3 because they got
two field goals.
Yeah. It's like you got to put them out the water early. You got to put them out early because you go into the games, like we said, we go into the games fourth quarter. It's clutch time. This is Rooster time, bro. Before I even coached for the Roosters, I knew in the fourth quarter these guys have been in so many close games. Austria, Vikings, Karlstad Crusaders. Not just in Finland. This organization has been in these games, bro. And that's why I said it's another thing. It's important for international play. It is important to play international games because it tells you and it gives you experience that you won't get in the Maple League. It'll make you.
The Crocodiles they got a Swedish guy playing on the offensive line. That's international play.
Yeah, but I'm saying like as a whole, like it really is a difference when you play internationally yearly because you go back to games like, oh man, this remind me of this game we played in before. It reminds me of that. So what happens is when you playing and you get into a clutch game, you go to another level mentally and you go to another level physically where you know no matter what they do, they got 4 plays to run, they might get a first down on this first play. They might get stopped on the second play. The third play, they might get another stop. On the fourth play, you like, man, we ain't stopped. We haven't really stopped them. But that fourth play is the nasty Velasty play. It's like they find a way. They find a way to make a play, and they win the game. And that's what good teams do. Not just the Roosters. That's what good teams do. They find a way to make a play, and that's why.
That's what the Crocs really missed when they just
the Crocs don't have it. They don't have it right now. They don't have it right now in the secondary. And that's another point. Yes, you got 2 great rush ends, but what are you gonna do when they're running the ball up the middle like they just did? Greenfield had over 100 yards. The man was out there playing bounce off pretty much. Like it was like, whew, like what are you gonna do? And you're gonna need a linebacker because the Butchers have a running back.
The Crocodiles linebackers are decent. Again, similar to like what I said about the Steelers, is they have actual linebackers in their playing linebacker. But to your point, a lot of those like missed tackles were those like either safeties coming down and missing an outside linebacker play, which is kind of like a safety anyways. Yeah. So a lot of that is what you have missing him, and he makes those guys miss. He's hard to tackle. But you said it earlier too, is that their secondary they couldn't compete with it.
You just can't. They built the defense.
No one secondary can compete this year.
I mean, I think it could. I think they could. I think Olin probably could have played in this game. I think Olin would have been a good in this game. He would have been a good.
I think the Roosters secondary is probably one of the. I mean, it's hard when I can't name 4 good corners. Like it's hard to name 4 good corners in the Maple League. So every secondary, you just look at the corner play and you're like, okay, we can run amok. But when you take that out of it a little bit, most of the Roosters have one of the better secondaries, I think, in the league. When you look at their safeties and how consistent number 20 and number 13 are back there, and then them able to have Aku Katanen roll in, and then Ronnie Lane is playing corner. He's going to lose as much as any other corner, but he's probably going to lose the least out of anybody in the league at this point.
Yeah,
he's probably the best corner. And he's going to make some plays.
Some tackles.
And he can tackle. That's one thing that's –
yeah. And that's what you want. You want – you know –
the Roosters corners can tackle.
Have good DBs. If you don't have good DBs, you need to have a great old D-line if you don't have good DBs. Because
they have like 85 D linemen.
Yeah, like and the Roosters have that. Roosters have a rotation of linemen. So they can disguise and camouflage their DBs because their D-line is constantly going to give you pressure. They're constantly going to make you make decisions faster. Now, the Crocs, they got 2 defense ends. They can do the same thing, but when the quarterback lets the ball go, you're on your own. You know what I mean? You're on your own. You don't have anybody back there that you're confident in that's going to make a play when you need them to. Not like – because you play against guys like Nunley, you play against guys like Brock, they're going to make plays because that's what good players do. It doesn't matter. Like, I'd be lying if I say I never got called on. I try not to get called on a lot, but you get called on. Some guys are just good. But there's also the difference of when you get into clutch games and on winning teams, it's always somebody in the secondary or 2 guys or 1 guy in the secondary that can always come up with a play. And that's what they failed to have on the Crocs because Nunley was running free, doing what he wanted to do. Johannes was running free, doing what he wanted to do. And this was the point in the game in which your secondary needs to step up because it's the 4th quarter. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It was a good game. I loved it. I would love to watch them play again. I really would, but I think the outcome wouldn't change.
I think when the secondaries are bad. So I'm going to ask you this question, Pervis. When we put our all Finland team out at the end of the year, do you think Sebastian Johansson's going to be in there, considering that he's only played a handful of games?
Okay. Well, we opened our voting to like the coaches and stuff, so I don't know if he's going to be known enough by the other coaches, but at this point, he's already played better than most of the corners that I've seen on every team. And you guys know I'm keeping up with player personnel every week, looking at every position, and I identified corner as a weakness in the league a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so every week I'm looking at like who's doing well when they have somebody to guard, when they don't have someone. Because a lot of guys, they don't get a lot of opportunity, so we don't call them out. But I'm looking at both sides now. I'm looking for anybody. Like, are you just in the vicinity of your DB, of your receiver? And I mean, what stands out for the best ones when I think of like Ronnie Lane, even Sebastian Johansson, even Tuukka Makila, cornerback from the Steelers, I think a lot of them are they're gonna lose those one-on-one battles, but I'm more looking at who can make a play. Like what Q was talking about is, can you just make a play? That kind of is what will set you apart at corner in this league this year because no one's making any plays. The fact that the people that are leading the interceptions are all safeties.
Everyone's safety.
Zach Wright, Julian Bell, they're making plays. But when I look at my cornerbacks, I'm looking at Tuukka Makila has a lot of PBUs. And those, again, stat-wise, that's great, but those aren't quality PBUs like what I just saw Sebastian Johansson have. Sebastian Johansson, he's hitting the ball out of the receiver's hands. Tuukka Makila, a lot of his PBUs are he just happens to be there. Like, he's probably given up more touchdowns than anybody else in the league, but there's no statistic for that. And that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at these corners. I'm trying to name 4 of them. Oh, I like the guy from UNC Crusaders, from Loyola Crusaders, Alonzo Munoz. I think he's a solid, and actually the guy opposite of him, Devontae Jones, he had an interception this last week. Good cornerback as well. I mean, I know the Crusaders give up a lot of points, but if you look at their cornerback play, they're not giving up a lot of stuff there. They're giving up a lot of stuff in the middle, over top. Their safety play actually isn't that good because sometimes
got 5 picks as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. I guess the stats kind of back it up because on the Crusaders, their safeties are where their issues are, and over the middle of the field is where most of the receivers get open.
I'm looking at the stats, the passes defended. Now they've made a big boo-boo. They said that Charles O'Connor's got 6 interceptions.
Well, on the stats, if you look at the stats, the interceptions and breakups are flipped. That's what they did.
Yeah, but he's got 0 break. What? So he's got 6 breakups.
Yeah, he's got 6 breakups. Charles O'Connor has been batting down.
He's batting down some balls.
Yeah,
he's got 4 picks then, not 5.
Yeah, he's got 4. He's got 5 PBUs and 4 picks most likely.
Yeah,
like the stats are actually flipped on there, which is crazy because most people don't even know how to find the stats, and if you do find the stats, they're wrong.
They're wrong.
Yeah. Good luck. But yeah, it's flipped on there. That's how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I guess we were talking about the Roosters and Crocodiles, but Q talked about everything he wanted to. I feel like the Roosters won. I agree with that. Chris, who won or lost? Like Roosters won, right? Yeah.
I agree to Roosters won. I mean, Q did enough talking for the both of us.
Yeah, you said everything I would have said. That's why I don't have nothing else to add. Like you said it. I can see you felt something about this game, so that was good.
Yeah, it brought back just a lot of memories of being in Finland, man. It ain't even really about being a Roosters fan, none of that. It's just since I've been in Finland, bro, like it's just something about them playing. I don't know what it is. It's something about them playing, but it's like there's one team that's just always
they've got their number.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah, but yeah, it was a good week. All right. All right, that's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Any last word before we get out of here, fellas?
Shout out to Christian Powell, man. Shout out to Christian Powell, man. You know what I'm saying?
He tied Stephen Stokes' record, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 117. Yeah.
Shout out to Christian Powell, man. That's a big thing, man. That's a big, big thing. That man could have, like I said last week, he could have been probably playing. He could have hopped around from countries and just wanted to travel and see every country he could, but he decided to stay in Finland. And now he got a record that's going to be hard to break. I got the joy of playing against and watching Stephen Stokes. And, that's big, man, because Stokes was productive and a beast. And Christian Powell's the same way, man. So it's good. I feel good that I got to watch both of them, you know what I'm saying, reach this point because there's been a lot of players come to Finland throughout the years before I even thought about playing in Finland. Before any of us thought about it, there were guys that was putting in work, and man, so just his name to be up there, you know what I'm saying, is big. So shout out to him, man, for that, for real.
Yeah, I remember trying to tackle Stephen Stokes one time. I'll throw this anecdote out there. I don't know if I've told people this. I played against the Wolverines one time, and I remember I was like, man, he ain't nothing. He ain't nobody. Ain't nobody worried about this guy. And I remember he not gonna agree with this, but this is what happened. I caught him from the back. Like I was on him. And I was like, okay, let me jump on this guy's back and bring him down. He's a little guy. And I jumped on his back. And I guess when I was in the air, he was still running because as I hit his shoulder pads, all of a sudden I couldn't grab anything. And he was leaving my ass. Next thing I know, I was face down on the velo and he was probably somewhere else. I don't think he scored a touchdown or anything, but I just remember, damn, I can't tackle that guy.
Hey, to give you another quick story, I'll tell you one about when I finally played against him. I think it was like my last season when I actually got to play against him, right? And I was like, man, this dude looks so fast when I watch him on film. Like, he just one of them people who get down. He just get down and burst. And I remember I read play. I'm coming downhill, and we meet kind of like in a, not like head up meet, but we meet to where I feel like I'm supposed to get the best of him. And this dude felt like I hit a brick wall, bro. Like, like he ain't the most like biggest, shreddest guy, but he is strong as hell, man. So I can, and it was defense is good back then, but like I think defense is probably a little better now than it was back then because back then he was averaging 300 yards a game, averaging like
you most people couldn't get him in space.
Yeah, like it was like it was a different Maple League and all that stuff. But that man, hey, hands down, was a beast, bro. Like literally one of the best running backs I have ever seen play in person. One of the best teammates I ever seen. He lived, walked, talked, team. That's how he was as a player. So it's good to see Christian Powell, somebody that's not selfish, also, reach this pinnacle too, man. So that's big. So shout out to him, man.
Yeah, and I told my story just to let you know that since the first day that I ever saw Christian Powell, it always jumped in the back of my mind. Y'all are crazy out there trying to tackle that dude. That is something I would never want any piece of. Have you seen how big that dude like? And I don't know if people have been watching, but DBs are diving at his legs all the time, unsuccessfully. Like he's not even the type to always jump over people. He just runs through guys, and he's just not very hard to bring down. I remember me as a player, if I would have saw someone like his size, I would have been like, "Nah, coach, this ain't happening. I'm not the one." I'd be, trying to push him out of bounds. And you notice a lot of times Christian Powell doesn't get tackled when he goes on the edge. Someone ends up trying to push him out of bounds because that's the smartest business decision you can make. But I guess that is everything. Last weekend is over, so you can catch us talking about the upcoming week of games right here on the AFF podcast tomorrow. So make sure to subscribe, follow, like, and share on all social channels at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
T-I-F.
We gone.
Well, he looking like I'm going to do something.
We're waiting.
We're waiting.